Hello, and welcome to On the Marie Curie Couch, the podcast that aims to break down taboos and start open, honest conversations about death and dying. I'm Jason Davidson. I'm a social worker by profession, and I've worked in palliative care, hospice care, and bereavement support services for more than a decade. Each episode, we'll be speaking to a well-known guest to find out about how they feel about their own mortality and how their personal experience of bereavement has shaped the way they live their life. Today, I'm on the Marie Curie Couch with Jacqui Joseph. Jacqui's a TV presenter, producer, and eco-friendly interior designer. Inspired by her painter-decorator father and seamstress mother, Jacqui has a passion for beautiful things for the home and loves upcycling and crafting. You might have seen her present in shows such as Homes Under the Hammer, This Morning, Big Strong Boys, Morning Live, and Money for Nothing. Jacqui has a grown-up daughter called Bianca. Jacqui Joseph, welcome to the Marie Curie Couch.
Oh, lovely to meet you, Jason. And always a pleasure to be part of Marie Curie and, everything that you guys do. Just wonderful. But thank you for having me.
It's good to meet you as well. And I think, the premise of this podcast is essentially to encourage conversations around death and dying. And can I start, Jacqui, by asking if you could tell me about a significant bereavement that you've experienced in your life?
Well, my husband passed away on New Year's Day, 2018, 10 past 10. It's funny that you obviously you remember the times and everything, obviously. But that was my significant, Jason. Yeah, very significant. Yeah.
Had he been ill for a long time, or was this something that happened quite quickly?
He was diagnosed with cancer in the end of April 2017, excuse me. We had got back from St. Lucia, and he hadn't been feeling great, and he couldn't really he couldn't keep his food down. But with guys, he keeps saying, go to the doctor. So he was diagnosed in 2017, April, and everything happened really quickly, and he started treatment in the May. And yeah, it's a kind of long story and complicated because the chemo was fine, everything was fine, but it was everything else in between that wasn't great. But yeah, so it was literally 8 months, and yeah.
At what point did he and you all know that he wasn't going to recover from that?
It was the September the 26th, because they were going to do the operation. It was going to be a long operation because it was cancer of the esophagus, and esophageal cancer, it can be sort of treated, obviously, and they can do the operation because it hadn't gone to the stomach. So it was just at the bottom of his esophagus. So they were saying, obviously, this 9-hour operation, they would do the front bit, open that bit out, sort out the stomach bit, turn him round, collapse the lung, and then do it from the back, or sort of the side. But when they had opened him up to start the first part, they saw that the cancer had actually spread to his liver. So they closed him back up, and that was that. And their consultant said 3 or 4 months. That was it.
Only if you're okay to talk about this, can I ask what sort of conversations you and him were having, or you were having as a family after that 26th of September?
Well, the funny thing is, I kind of buried my head in the sand because I was like, no, something else can be done. And there's more that can be done. This is can't be just like that. And then Auntie kept saying to me, stop burying your head in the sand. This is it. But I just wasn't having it, Jason. I just couldn't. And then at the same time, we were organising things, like you do, the music that you want in the funeral and what he wanted to give to his brother and his sister and his nephews. Bianca, and, and we sorted out, getting his pension out early, and we sort of did that. But at the same time, in my head, it was like, this isn't happening. It's just not happening. It's not. But it bloody well did. And he kept saying to me, just know that this is going to happen. And yeah, I suppose I sort of accepted it begrudgingly. I had to, in the end, accept it. But, even like sort of Christmas 27th or something, we went to my brother's, Pat. He's not far from here. And I had changed our car. And so I said, let's go to Pat's. And Andy was quite weak then, but let's go. And he did. We got in the car. And that was really nice. And I think it was that day that I said, this is not good. This is not looking good. Maybe that was the day I kind of in my heart accepted. Although the funny thing is, when the guys and girls from Pembridge Hospice came round, there was one doctor, very Italian, Dr. Bernardo. And Andy was so funny with them. I'd be in the kitchen, I could hear them all laughing. And then Andy would ask him, so, how long have I really got? And then Dr. Bernardo would say, I don't know. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be next week. And Andy would say, you're no good, are you? It's like, but I could always hear them laughing, which for me brought me kind of joy in a way. But anyway, that was the last time that we sort of popped out, if you like. And that was the day I think I thought, yeah, this is not great. Whether I accepted it, probably not until the 1st of January, if you know what I mean, Jason. In my, deepest heart, I wasn't great at accepting it. Because you just think, no, because this is my guy that I've been with, for so long. No, this is not going to happen. Not to Andy. No. Even though he's being diagnosed with it, even though the consultant said this is it, even though he's in palliative care at home, it's just, I don't know.
You don't want it to be true.
No, that's it. I didn't want it to be true. I didn't want to accept it, but I had to. In the very end, I had to. It's tough, and you kind of feel bad that you didn't want to accept it, but you also feel that there's this fight that you want to fight, but it's a fight that I couldn't win. I couldn't win it, It
sounds like Andy and you and others were open to what was actually happening as well at the same time, and actually having those conversations. So doing lots of that planning, sorting out finances, doing the practical stuff, while also trying to kind of manage emotions. And I just wonder now, kind of with this short time on, just 4 years, whether there was anything helpful with regards to your grief and your bereavement, that you were able to have some of those conversations beforehand. Because what happens is we get lots of people who just can't have those conversations. So they describe exactly what you've described about just not wanting it to be the truth, but actually couldn't even go that step further to even talk about it.
Yeah, it was good because we just sat in the bedroom, and this is where we did the sort of the practical things like, let's get your pension released early. Just so that, because I don't just want it to be there. I want you to be able to say, this is what I want done with it. So we did that, and he gave money to his brother. He knew his brother was going to get married. So money towards Simon's wedding, money for his sister Jane, money for his nephew Joe, nephew Sam, even Amelia and Jacob, who were Simon's children as well, and Joe and Sam were Jane's children, to Bianca. So he wanted her to get a car, and then he said, well, let's change our car and let's put a deposit down and put as much as we can, so that all you're going to pay is 200 quid a month rather than paying 400 quid a month. And then obviously we went through music and decided things like that. The other practical bits, obviously we didn't discuss that. Obviously you should give back the passport. Obviously, you've got to take, all the other bits that you have to do. But those things, sorting out what he wanted to give and sorting out what he wanted for his music, I thought was really good because it was his choice. And he was saying, because it was cremated, that when the coffin was, going to be going, he wanted, there was 2 tunes he loved. He loved John Holt's I'll Be There, and he loved The Doors. So it was Ride It in the Storm, and it was, that's what he wanted. And then he chose a whole list of tracks to play at, his that wake after the commission. So we had quite fun sort of, going through that. And I said, what are you doing with that tune? It was like, yeah, but I like it. So, it was, that was nice. But we did sort out, I suppose, practical, but necessary things. And even then, Jason, I still, in my deepest heart, said it's not going to happen. Is that funny, isn't it? In the depths of my heart, although parts of my heart kind of knew after the 27th when we'd gone to Pat's. Then I remember, and then Pat came round, and I'm jumping around a bit, but Pat had come round, and I remember hearing them talking. I did hear them talking, and I heard Andy saying to Pat, it's going to happen. And Pat, my brother, had said, yeah, I know. And I heard him say it, yeah, I know. And I was like, and then he just said to Pat, look after her, just watch her for me, watch Jax, and make sure she's all right. I was like, God. Anyway, but he just knew it, and he was so good. He was so good. I don't know if I would be like that, but I'd just say he's the bravest guy I know. Brave, but not miserable brave with it. Not like, oh, bloody hell, I'm going and, it's not fair. It just wasn't like that. It just, whereas I was, this isn't fair. And even when I rang Claire at Pembridge that morning, because the nurses would come round every day to the last, and the first thing she said, it's always the good ones. Yeah, it's the first thing she said. It was always the good ones. Because he was great. And he was great. He's a great guy. Yeah. But yeah, we did organise things, practical stuff. Yeah, before we went. We did.
You mentioned the word choice there and his choices, but I was also thinking about the word control, that he was able to control his ending as well, on lots of levels, and so choosing what he wanted, but also still be himself in all of that as well, and that's a hard thing to do. Yeah,
but he was, I suppose it's maybe his Yorkshire background. I don't know, but he was very, very much like that he didn't want people to feel sorry for him, but at the same time, I don't think he wanted to feel sorry for himself. But in other ways, I think he felt sorry for himself, but it was like, I've got to let it go because it's out of my control. That is out of my control. But what I can do is, because he was still working, like, days before, because he was a headhunter, but he was still doing emails and on the phone with people to organise them, having interviews and whatever, which was bizarre. But then there was a point when he was like, I can't start my writing, I can't spell properly, or I can't write properly. And I was like, well, don't write it, just say it. But he was still scribbling notes and things. But yeah, he had control of some things, but he let go of control of other things that he couldn't control. It was, it's so difficult to describe, Jason, because I suppose everyone is going to be different, and it's just going to be different for different people. No two passings, I feel like, are the same. No two people's being there with the person when they pass away is the same. But one thing I did know is that he didn't want to go, I wouldn't have had it anyway, but that's my personal thing and his personal thing. Didn't want to go into the hospice. As nice as the hospice is, not knocking the hospice at all, because what they do is great. He chose to be at home, and I agreed with it as well. Just chose to be at home, and And I wouldn't have personally wanted him to be in the hospice. I'd prefer him to be at home. And then, so that was a decision that he made and we stuck with. And then, then the district nurses would come every day, and, check up on him. And then the hospice people would come every 2 days. Claire, Dr. Bernardo, would just come. And I think that was the right decision. And then he made his decision. He wanted to be cremated. And then we would always say, it's who's left behind that suffers, not the person who's gone. It's who they leave behind that suffers the most. And he always said, I need to go before you because I wouldn't be able to cope. And he'd always say that, I wouldn't be good. And do you know what, when he did pass away, and, as the time went, and even to this day, I will still say to him, you were right. Once again, you were right. I wouldn't want it the other way because he wouldn't be great. He wouldn't be good. He just wouldn't. So he was right. Clever little sod.
Can you tell me, Jacqui, about your experience of grief after Andy died?
Jason, it's the funny thing. It's stupid things. It's like, so Jay, I stayed in the bed with Andy because the nurse said, she said he can stay here for as long as you like, just keep the windows a bit open. And so literally, my daughter's boyfriend drove to Mary. He drove to Radcliffe-on-Trent, picked up Mary, drove her back, drove her here to London. And then Joe came, but I stayed in the bed with Andy. And the chain of events happened that it was New Year's Day, and New Year's Eve, I was here, and we'd always have New Year's Eve. We wouldn't really go out much, but we'd have New Year's Eve here, watch a Jules Holland or something. But he was in the bedroom, and I then started to sort of clean, and I just kept the bedroom door open. And then I had the little squidgy stick things with sponge, and I put some on his lips, a bit of Prosecco or something on New Year's Eve. And it was like that. And then the New Year's Day, I woke up, and then I started more cleaning and kept the door open. And then I sat with him and I just said, if you can hear me, because he had his eyes shut, if you can hear me, squeeze my hands. And he did, he squeezed my hand. And I just said to him, I kind of knew they had put a driver in like 2 days before that would give him, pump a bit of painkiller or something every so-and-so every 4 hours because he couldn't take it in. And then I said to him, look, whatever happens, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash you. It's funny, isn't it? And I did. And so that was how it, and he did. He slipped away, like say 10:10. And I was with him, I was sat next to him, just me and him. And I then got the basin, flannel, and I washed him. Yeah. And then I called Claire, from Pembridge, told her. The district nurse came round really quickly. She was here. And that's what she said. He can stay here. Obviously, what happens, the people have to come round and do the official time of death and what have you. And then by sort of 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, Mary was here. Was
that a relative of Andy's?
Mary was his mum.
His mum, okay.
She was just not great, I mean, I called her, obviously. The first person I called actually was Mary. And then I called Claire, hospice lady. And and I just felt just like beyond, it was just beyond. And then you would look out the window and you just see people getting on with their lives like normal. I mean, I don't live on a busy road, but, just seeing people maybe New Year's Day walking their dog or walking with their family, and you'd be like, well, what are you doing? Don't you know what's happened? Why are you out here having a great time and laughing? No. And I felt like that for, ages. Sometimes even now I just think, and it's horrible to say this, but there's some people I think, how come you're still here and Andy's not?
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? It's a very weird thing in your head that happens. This thing that happens, why are people going about like nothing's happened?
Mm.
Why? What? Don't you know? But they don't know.
When your life stopped or stood still.
Stops, and the piece of your soul, if you like, or your heart is gone now. It's gone. But yet you're carrying on like nothing's happened. But of course they don't know. Come on. But it's only afterwards you think about that. But at the time, when you see everyone bobbing about, and like I said, because it was New Year's Day, obviously people were out. People were maybe not at work, and people were out with their families. Maybe family had come to stay with them, and they were all out together, having a great time. And so I just couldn't get my head around it. What are you doing? Well, of course, people are not going to be walking around dressed in black and saying, "Oh my goodness, Andy's just passed away." Don't you know? Of course they don't know. And I think a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people who have lost a loved one will think the same.
Every 5 minutes, someone in the UK dies without the care and support they need. It's time for change. With your support, we can help more people get the care they urgently need. Visit mariecurie.org.uk/daffodil to donate to Marie Curie's Great Daffodil Appeal today.
We do hear that from people, they will say that when they're walking down the street, that it feels, so that some people will describe this kind of zombie-like state, where it's like, how's the world continuing around me? And that is a common experience that people do have. I just wondered, Jacqui, whether I could ask, sort of after that period of time, after when Andy died, what sort of things helped you with your grief? I'm just thinking about people listening now and who might be grieving themselves and going through this situation. I just wonder whether there's anything that helped you or helps you.
You know what it is for me personally, after all the other practical things, because you don't really have time, there's a moment, and not even a moment, it's literally straight away, when you have to deal with everything, get the death certificate, go to the town hall, register the death, all those things you have to do. That kind of takes up time. But what it was for me is that what helped me is Andy's always here, as far as I'm concerned. He's always, so I talk to him like he's here. Just say, if there's questions, if there's a conversation, I will have that conversation with Andy. And that's what really, really helped me a lot. And it still does to this day. So I'll talk to him like he's here. So when I come in, I'll say, I'm back. And it's a weird thing, but that's what helped me. Obviously, my family were amazing at that time to help me through it. But you have to kind of do it in your way, whatever is. I've got a faith, I don't, go to church and go to mass every day or, every Sunday. I don't. I do go to church and I sit on my own by my Andy candles, as I call them, and sit on my own. And I'll do that maybe a couple of times a month. And my faith has helped me. But what's also helped me is in my being, I feel Andy's still with me. And that gives me strength. If I'm driving somewhere, I'll always pat the passenger seat, it's like Andy's there. That's okay. And it makes me feel better. And people might think I'm nuts, but it makes me feel better. And for anyone that is grieving, everyone's grief happens in a different way. And if yours is to be with friends and family, then that's great. But there's going to be those moments when you are going to be on your own, because friends and family won't be there with you 24/7. There's going to be a time when you're going to be at home on your own. You've got to dig deep within yourself, and it's tough. But I found it easy to say, Andy's with me. So it was like someone, Andy's there. He's still there. and I can talk to him.
And I'm so pleased you've spoke about that, because, absolutely everybody's experience of grief is unique, and it's unique to the relationship that they had with the person who's died.
Yeah.
But what you're describing, some people, you saying, well, some people might think I'm mad. And, lots of people will think that when they do have conversations with the person who's died, they do want to carry on talking to them and say, is that okay? And it's like, yes, that brings you comfort.
Yes.
Then, and that works for you as you're describing, then yes, it's okay. And no one's judging that.
No. And some people might think, and I would think, oh gosh, but it's quickly gone, that thought, because it makes me feel comforted. It makes me feel safe. There's a point when you just want to feel safe in the knowledge that that person is with you. And if that makes you feel great, like we used to watch things like First Dates, and things like that, and Gogglebox. Do you know what I mean? And just things like that. And every time I sit and watch it, I'll always say, oh, yeah, look, it's Gogglebox now. Oh, it's First Dates. Oh, we've got a new series of First Dates. And do you know what I mean? And it's those little things, crazy as it sounds, but those little things programs used to watch together, the music you might love, the music that brings back certain memories, the places you might go, those are great. And talking of places, I mean, we did everything together, you see. So we would go for coffees together, we'd go to cinemas together, we holiday together. Sometimes we worked together because I could help him. Do you know what I mean? And it's headhunting, and we would bounce. And people used to always say to me, bloody hell, how can you and Andy work together, do everything together, live together, you're together? And it's just like, well, it's easy because it's me and Andy. So that's what is, the funny thing is, that's the other thing that changes as well, is that those things, you always do those things together, holiday together, go for coffees together, go for lunch together, go for dinner together, go, to cinema together. That's what changes big. The first time I went to the cinema, I went on my own, and I never been to cinema on my own in my life. And I know people do that, but that's the other thing that changes. You can't do that. I don't go places and just have a coffee on my own. I don't go and have lunch on my own. I don't go and have dinner on my own. I don't do that. But I went to the cinema on my own, to a local cinema, little Lexi, up Kensal Rise Way, an independent cinema. I went to see, it was the first time in my life I'd been to cinema on my own. I went to see Queen and Slim, and I loved it. But I felt Andy was with me anyway, because I knew he would have liked that film. But I went on my own in the sort of late afternoon. So it's those things, again, that changes completely. Especially if you're the person, whether it's your mom or your dad or someone that you did lots of things with. When you lose that everything changes. You can't do the same things again, but you might have to do it in a different way. That's all. So when I go on holiday now, I'll go with friends, or I'll go with my daughter. I've just come back from Tenerife last night.
Wow.
Yeah, 5-hour delay on the flight though.
Oh.
Anyway, but I went with a group of friends, and friends and family are important. But like I say, they're not with you 24/7. Remember, when you come back to your place, it's you. You have to find that comfort and strength. And that comfort and strength for me, I go back to it again, is, as far as I'm concerned, Andy's still with me.
Mm. I was just thinking that's a really important message, that thing of, you will begin to do things again, but you will do them differently, and you'll be having different experiences. I just wonder, Jacqui, if it's okay with you, if I could change tack in the questions slightly and ask you whether you ever think about your own death.
Well, I got my music all sorted. I got my tunes sorted.
Okay, so you have given it some thought.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've got that. Because we did it at the same time, me and Andy.
Oh, how nice.
We did it at the same time. I sorted my tunes, we did his tunes, I sorted my tunes. So that bit I know. And I have also said I would probably See, I've got a feeling my daughter Bianca will probably want me to be buried, but I have said, if I die of a disease, I want to be cremated, and yeah, I probably would, because I also don't want Bianca or anyone to be going to, I don't know, they might think that they have to go to the graveside and make sure that there's flowers and make sure that there's things and da. But I'm thinking about them, not bothering them. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking about not bothering them, because everyone leads busy lives. But yeah, I've thought about it, and so I've got a file that's got, all my sort of details of ISA and bank details and, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's other things that someone will have to sort out, send back the passport, getting, taking me off council tax, or there's so many other things to sort out anyway. But if you can then sort out, make sure that those papers are there and someone knows you've done your will. I've done my will. And some people don't like to do a will. I know it might be a bit, I was always thinking that it's a bit morbid, as that means you're going to die, but actually we're all going to die at some point. But to live on in another way, in the heart of someone, or, whatever your belief is, but to have things in order as best you can, because it would help the person that's going to be looking after it. As I go back to it again, me and Andy said, it's the ones you leave behind that suffer the most, because you're already gone to wherever, the higher plane, whatever you believe in, wherever you think you're going to go, but to another place. But it's the ones that's left behind that has to deal with it. So as much as you can, make sure that things are there. Like I said, I've done my music. I know the music that I want. I make sure that everything is easy in one file. Okay, there's the things, that's this, that's that.
Mm-hmm.
As much as possible, then it makes it easier.
I think that thing about the will, what I say to people as well is, it might not feel the most comfortable thing to do, but actually, it's a few hours, and then you pack it away and it's done.
It's done.
Unless you ever need to go back to it in the future. But I think that's, it's. I think the message that underlies all of that is, do as much preparation as you can, and that involves, yes, having sometimes some uncomfortable conversations about death and dying when not everybody wants to talk about them. I just wanted to ask Jacqui whether legacy was something that was important to you, as in how you'd like to be remembered.
I mean, I've kind of taken a bit of Andy's legacy, because for me, his legacy was, he was so kind. He always had time for people, and I take that. And he's always like, only do things that you like to do. If you don't like to do it, just don't do it. It's a waste of time. I think for me, my legacy, I think people will, and I hope will say, Jacqui always gave time to people, because I do, Jason. I do. Always gave time to people. She'd always be that ear that you could talk to. She would always tell you the truth. You could go to her and she'd be straight and just tell you, whether there might be a bit uncomfortable for you to hear it, but she'll tell you the truth. And she was fun, and that's hopefully, that will be my legacy. But certainly, always got time for people, and my friends, family, people around. Anyone that needs to know, you want to ask advice, go to Jacqui. Trust me. Even, my family, that's what they do. It's like, and I always keep saying to them, do you know what, when I'm gone, you're not going to what are you not going to do? What are you guys going to do when I'm gone? It's like everything leads back to Jacqui. Ask Jacqui. She'll know. She'll sort that out. Leave it with Jack. She'll sort that out. Yeah, because I do. I'm like the Mrs. Fix-It.
Just as we begin to wrap up, there's just one thing I wanted to ask, and that was, how has your experience been today of being on the Marie Curie Couch?
Fabulous, honestly. And I know I've been talking gobbledygook, But
Not at all.
I just feel if one person says, do you know what, that was really helpful. Do you know what, I'm going through that as well. Yeah, I'm a bit confused, and I'm feeling the same. If it's just one person, then I'm happy, Jason. I'm very happy, because grief is a messed up thing. It's messed up because you don't know how to deal with it. And, if you hear someone talking about their experience and it can help you, and you think, okay, it's not just me then I'm happy. My sister, Bella, we lost, I say we, you see, because it's like we. She had her firstborn. He would have been 12 now. Che, it was good. His name was the name Che, but she had him and took him home. And on the third day, he passed away. And I never forget that. And Andy was like, "Oh my God," we were beside ourselves. We just couldn't believe it. And that was our first big experience of like so close of grief, and that was like it was tremendous loss. And I always say that Che is with Andy. Do you know what I mean? Because like I say, he would have been 12 now. But so so whether you lost a child, a life partner, mum, a dad. I lost my uncle last night. My dad, I feel so gutted for, because that was his best buddy. And I was so glad I was able to spend time with Uncle Headley in St. Lucia in October. He sat on his veranda. He wasn't well, he had cancer. But Dad, when he seen that message last night, and I just like, oh, Dad, are you okay? And so no matter who you lose, it's going to be a blow. It's going to be a blow. But, if this conversation and any conversation, that people have can help, like I say, just one person, then do you know what? That's great. That's great. And I hope my gobbledygook will help someone.
Well, it hasn't been gobbledygook at all. And Jacqui Joseph, thank you so much for joining me on the Marie Curie Couch. Thank you for being so open and honest and sharing some of yours and Andy's story.
Oh, thank you so much, Jason. It's been a real pleasure.
So that's all for this episode of On the Marie Curie Couch. We hope it's got you thinking about matters of life and death, and perhaps starting those conversations with your own friends and family. Marie Curie's here to help. From planning ahead to coping with bereavement, you can talk through any concerns you have around the end of life with our support line team, which also includes specially trained nurses. Call us on 0800 090 2309 or search Marie Curie online. This podcast is produced and edited by Marie Curie with support from Ultimate Sound and Vision. The music featured is Time Lapse by Pan Oceanic. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do like and subscribe. Thanks for listening, and until next time, goodbye.